welcome to the Freshest Sounds Podcast with me, your host, Ross. This is a mental health episode. So, as you can see, we have a guest speaker here today. So, guest speaker, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is SERAP. I'm an ADHD coach for men and a certified energy practitioner. So, thank you for having me, Ross. It's awesome to be here.
No problem. And thank you for connecting with me via Facebook and everything. And when I read your post and everything, well, not your post as such, but when you messaged me and obviously you explained that you're a ADHD coach for men, is it just men you deal with, or can you deal with women as well?
So, me personally, because of, I'm a religious Jewish man, right? I only work with men.
Right.
That's just a personal choice that I took upon myself.
Okay. So, with being a ADHD coach as well, is it different from men compared to women, or are they both the same?
So they are different.
Okay.
So men can be diagnosed earlier in life. ADHD can show up as, a lot of energy. For instance, a woman might experience more daydreaming, or anxiety. And a woman could get diagnosed. It's more common for women to get diagnosed later in life. So a lot of men, I'm not saying it's not possible for a man to get diagnosed later in life, but it's more common for them to get diagnosed earlier in their life, like as a child.
Okay. So, what signs and symptoms would you look out for someone, for a male? So say, for example, I've come to you and I say, I think I've got ADHD. What signs or what would you look for in myself when assessing me? Like, what's the procedure to say, yeah, you've 100% got ADHD? Like, how does it work? Can you explain
So
to me,
first
please?
of all, I think it's important to make clear that I am not authorized to diagnose anyone, right? But with that being said, there's a few things you can keep in mind when you're talking to someone that can give you an idea if he has ADHD. One is you're talking to me, I'm not making direct eye contact with you because
Okay.
I'm trying to obtain all the information that you're sharing with me. By me looking you in your face, in your eyeballs, that takes a lot of mind power for a man who has ADHD. So if we're like looking kind of away from the person who's speaking to us, it's because we're trying to take in everything that he or she is trying to share with us. That's one. Another could be that if a person gets angry, right? Like I'm talking about big tantrums. That a person could think, and this actually happened to me, when I was 9, I was actually misdiagnosed with bipolar.
Wow.
Doctors thought I had bipolar because I would have crazy, huge tantrums that I would be fighting and throwing things and like off the wall. And doctors thought I had bipolar. And from that moment on, after I was diagnosed, they actually put me on bipolar medication all the way until I was like 18 years old. And when I was in my early 20s, I actually found out that I was misdiagnosed. At one time in my life, I was on something called Geodone, and I was on 1,500 milligrams. If I accidentally took this in the morning, my day was done. Like I couldn't go to school, I couldn't do anything. I would have to sleep because it would knock me out. And the doctors actually told my parents, they're like, look, whenever Ari has tantrums, give him this medication. It will just knock him out and, he'll be quiet and you won't have to deal with it. So I never really learned tools, how to deal with that anger, right? I never learned tools and later in life I realized I was just trying to express myself. I just wanted to communicate and I didn't know how to. So it's a misconception. This is where we kind of went on a tangent a little bit, but anger can be a symptom of ADHD, and that was a big symptom for me. I don't have bipolar.
Yeah.
So yeah, anger can definitely be something to look after. You know, if especially as a child, if he or she's having trouble communicating, and it
Yeah.
turns into extreme outbursts, it's something to keep in mind, to look into.
That's very, very interesting. And, I'm sorry to hear the fact that you got misdiagnosed as a young child. So, what effect did taking that medication have on yourself? Obviously, you said that it would knock you out, but was there any other side effects?
Yeah. So I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 4, right? So
Right.
I was put on medication at age 4. Now, each medication that we're talking about, there was different side effects. And I was on tons of medication throughout my life, from age 4 to 18. And that was the best day of one of the best days. I won't say of my life, but definitely a huge accomplishment, something I'll never forget, because I took all of my meds, right? Had them on the kitchen counter, and then I got a glass of water, and I put all my meds in that water and just watched it dissolve. And it was such a moment that I'll never forget. It felt so good. So, yeah. Anyways, so I don't know, are you curious to know about the ADHD meds or this specific med that I was talking about, the Geodone?
I'm curious about both, really, but we'll go with the bipolar meds first, because
Okay.
obviously that's what you was obviously talking about first, and you got misdiagnosed with the bipolar. So obviously, I just wanted to know like what effect it had on you, and obviously what it did to yourself, because obviously you was taking it for a very, very long time. Do you know what I mean? It's quite a
Yeah.
few years to be taking a medication that you don't really need to be taking, and obviously all medications have side effects, i.e. I have epilepsy, and the side effects that it does to me it was thinning my hair, hence why I've shaved all my hair off, and it made me like I said, my hair was really, really, really thin. It started receding at a young age as well. I'm 30 now, so, and they said that another side effect is it'll put on weight, and I've not really put on much weight, to be honest with you. I still I still feel, well, look skinny, but other than that, you know what I mean, all medication have side effects, and if you're taking incorrect medication for something that you don't really need, it can mess up your body internally as well.
So something that I think with the help of my wife, we discovered
Yeah.
this, but you just triggered this in my mind. I think from taking all these medications at such a young age, right, and high doses, right, mind you, that I have liver issues, um, and also blood circulatory issues, like my circulation is not so good.
Yeah.
So, and I really do think that's a combination of all the meds that I took for such a long time, and um, don't want to get us too off topic, right? But I used to be a nightclub promoter before
Okay.
I was religious. Like I wasn't raised this way. I became religious like almost in
Yeah.
2015, right?
That's really
So
good.
before I was religious, I was a nightclub promoter, and I used to drink a lot, a lot. So the combination of those two things definitely definitely had its side effects that I'm still living with today.
Mm.
But the geodone, right? That that was the biggest side effect that I remember as I was taking it.
Yeah.
And it could be scary. There was a time, when I was in boarding school, right? Mind you, because my parents didn't really know how to deal with me, I lived on my own in different rehabs and boarding school from age 12 to 16, before, like, close to my 17-year-old birthday, right? And at one point I was in this boarding school in a completely different state than from where I'm from, nowhere close. I grew up in Las Vegas. This boarding school was in Delaware. Nowhere close. It's like a 4-hour flight and then an hour drive, something like that. An hour and a half, 2-hour drive. Nowhere close, right? So I'm in this place that I know nobody, nothing. So I'll never forget this. There was movie night, right? We're having a movie night, and they gave me my meds before the movie, and the movie wasn't where the dorm was, right? It was still on the campus, but not where I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
Meds kicked in, and I was out. Now, the thing about these meds is I'm conscious, but I can't speak. I can't move. I know I still have complete memory of everything that happened, right? But I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. I remember guys taking me back to my dorm room, right? And they had to take my clothes off. They were putting me in bed, and they're laughing and giggling, and I was extremely uncomfortable because they were saying things that were making me uncomfortable. Mind you, they thought that I wasn't conscious. They thought I was sleeping, you know? So that's something I'll never forget. It's something that I'll remember for the rest of my life, and that's the power of medication. It can cripple you, and I felt crippled.
I'm sorry to hear that. Do you know what I mean? And it's scary what effects medication can have to you, and because if you're on the wrong meds, like you just said then, and stuff's happened to you, as you just explained, it's gonna affect you mentally and physically. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
It's gonna bring trauma into your life, and it's unnecessary trauma as well. Now, you've got this memory inside your brain from being, a young lad, where these other lads were essentially picking on you, and it wasn't your fault, all because of some doctor, I'll quotation mark it, some doctor has give you the wrong meds and thought that you had this, this going on with you, when that was incorrect. So I just want to say, from my end, I am very sorry to hear that sort of stuff, and I know this is going to sound harsh in a way, but I'm glad that you've gone through it and you survived it, because people can go through it and, it takes a toll on their life, and they want to end their life for it, and they do end up ending their life for it. And you know what I mean? And I'm very thankful that you're still here to this present day to share your story and be on my podcast and explain, your life and your story and your background. And, like I said, I'm truly sorry to hear what's happened to you, but in another respect, I'm glad that you're here still, and, you're still fighting, and you're expressing yourself and your story. So I want to fast forward now. So obviously we spoke about your teenage years and your younger years as well. So what made you get into, the ADHD coach sort of stuff?
I felt a responsibility.
Mm.
I've been there, as I shared a little bit with you guys. I've been there, And
Yeah.
I did tons of therapy, dude. Tons. Talk therapy. There's certain therapies like IFS and somatic that I connect with, right? But the type of therapy that I was sent to as a kid, what am I doing here? You know, like, what am I doing? You know? And I thought it was a joke. You know, it didn't do anything for me. No one taught me any skills to deal with ADHD or to deal with the real life struggles that I'm facing. No one
Yeah.
taught me nothing. So I feel responsibility, you know? I'm a success story. And when you're in that type of position where you have overcome triumphs in your life, when you have overcome literally darkness, where you literally could have just, like you said, give up, not even be here in this world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like when you reach that point where you like, whoa, I really worked on myself, and I actually taught myself and learned real practical tools that have helped me with the things that I struggle with. Of course, I need to help others who go through the same thing. So that's why I do what I do, Ross. That's why I do what I do, and it's very, very fulfilling for me. And I'm very dedicated to it, and it's what I'm passionate about, and it's all about paying it forward, you know? Like you said, and it's not harsh. It's not harsh. It's the truth. What we have to go through is what we were meant to go through. You don't go through something if you're not going to be able to stand tall after it. There are
Yeah.
people who go through things and they unfortunately it's not a success, right? Like unfortunately, like there's not good things to be told about that. Rather they,
Exactly. Yeah.
we hear all these. There's a lot of stories, and we all know people who either took their life or didn't deal with it. Now I'm going to say something that is harsh, right? At the end of the day, we have something which is free choice.
Yeah.
I have a choice when I'm going through the darkest moments of my life if I'm going to actually kill myself,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm actually going to give up, if I'm going to throw in the towel. I have that choice. That is my choice. And I also have the choice that I'm not going to give up. I'm going to fight this. I have the choice to believe in myself and to do whatever I need to do, whatever is necessary to get out of this dark spot in my life and be a light. Whatever that means to me or to whatever a person's going through, what being a light means, I have that choice. That's my choice. And I had to make that choice many, many, many times in my life. And obviously, we are getting that place where it's like you can't see that light. But that's why we have good friends and we have mentors and we have people who believe in you when you don't believe in yourself. So that's what I try to be for other people. To be that voice when they don't have that voice. To give them the encouragement when they're not able to encourage themselves. To give them real skills when they don't know what to do with the troubles and struggles that they're dealing with right now. That's why I do what I do.
No, do you know what? That's absolutely amazing. And do you know what? It was bringing it to it. I was like getting quite emotional, and when you was giving that like motivational speech and saying about it's the truth, it's hard to speak the truth or listen to the truth when you're at your low points. And my first episode for mental health, I dived into my past and everything, and I've told my story, and I well up sometimes telling my story, and I'm open as a book. I'll happily sit here and tell people what's gone on in my life. I've attempted suicide not plenty of times, but more than once is enough. Do you know what I mean? So, the most recent one was I was just texting everyone in my family saying goodbye. I've had enough. I can't live no more. Can't cope no more. And where I live, basically, I live in sheltered accommodation, if you know what that is. So it's just like a house share, basically, full of lads. And we've all got stuff going on. I was practically made homeless. I had nowhere to go. Got kicked out of my parents' house, and I ended up in this sheltered accommodation. Now this is like a temporary thing. I've been there about a year and maybe 2-3 months now, and that's supposed to be a temporary thing. Now to me that's a long time. Do you know what I mean? It's no temporary thing. But getting sidetracked anyway from my story. So I was just down, depressed, because like I said before, we came on, I suffer with depression, anxiety. I've also got epilepsy as well. So there's a train bridge right near the house that we live at, and I walk past it every single day, and every single time I'm on that train bridge, I always get intrusive thoughts. I get a voice in my head, just stand on that bridge, turn your back, and then just drop. That's what I get every time, and I fight that every single day. And just this one morning, I was having a shower, and it's weird as well because when I'm in a shower and I'm alone with my own thoughts, that's where things start to unravel, and I'm my own worst enemy. And I just start thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking, and then I'm like, fucking hell. Like, you think about shit that you shouldn't really think about, and it's just like, it's hard to get back out of that state and back to the normal routine. So, like I said, obviously going sidetracking here. So basically, just texting everyone saying goodbye, and my plan were to jump off the train bridge. And my mum just literally drove down, picked me up, dragged me out of the house basically, and said, "Come on, we're going for a drive." I was in absolute tears. I was just like, I couldn't even pull myself together. I had to go to the doctors. They referred me to go to hospital, and I had to do a welfare check on me to see if I was okay, basically. And at that moment in time, I just couldn't see past anything. I was just tunnel vision on, like what you said, just darkness, and it was just hard to get by. But it's like what you said as well. You have that choice, and I don't know what was stopping me, but there was something there. I wanted to do it so bad, but trying to do it, thinking it and doing it are two different things, you know what I mean? And I always say to people who, when they actually go ahead and do these things, got some absolute fucking balls to do that. Do you know what I mean? Because the amount of preparation you've got to do, thinking of how you're going to do it and how you're going to top yourself, it blows my mind. So obviously I just started explain my side of the story, do you know what I mean? So obviously a bit of background of myself. So obviously you're also a certified energy healer. So how did you come about being a energy healer?
So I've always had really good intuition,
Okay.
My entire life. I never even heard about energy healing until I met my wife. My wife was into it, and she, told me about it. Her best friend also is an energy healer. And when I first heard about it, I thought it was complete nonsense. I was like, I don't get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we actually used an energy healer, energy worker, there's different names: energy healer, energy therapist, energy medicine, energy practitioner, right? It's all the same thing.
Okay.
So our daughter had an ear infection, right? And it came out of nowhere. So, and we didn't know what was going on, right? So we're not big fans of doctors, right? So we didn't think to take her to a doctor, but we were like, let's talk to an energy worker.
Is that like a Jewish thing? Like you don't like to, or is it just personal choice?
Well, for doctors,
Yeah, is because obviously you said before like you're Jewish and everything.
yeah.
So
No,
is it
there's
is
certain
it a Jewish thing? Or,
There's certain Jews like us that are we'll only go to a doctor if it's like, the last choice,
right.
right? Um, yeah, that's how we hold, you know. But at the same time, like there's a time and place for hospitals. There's a time and place for doctors, right? My daughter had what they call a febrile seizure just like a month ago, right?
Right.
They said it's normal for kids under 5 to have something like this. We didn't know what was going on. It happened in the GON. Then we're in the ambulance, and it's happening where I'm holding her. One of the scariest moment of my life, and definitely as a parent, because it's my baby girl,
Yeah.
So of
Definitely.
course we went to the hospital. We didn't, we're not going to be stupid. That's a time that if that's a time. There's, like I said, there's a time and a place. But for like if we had a fever, we're not going to no doctor for a fever. Yeah. So to go back, right? So we got this energy worker, energy practitioner to work on our daughter, and she did some work. It's all remote, by the way, right? All remote. She didn't see our kid or anything, all remote. She did the session, and she told us that we're talking about money in front of our daughter, and that is what caused her ear infection. After she did the session and we stopped talking about money, the very next day, it was gone. Right? And I was like, what in the world just happened? Like, what? What? So that caught my attention. I did some research, right? I was like, I want to learn more about this. And I studied it. And I got certified. And I combine it with, when I'm coaching men. And sometimes, I have some clients who just, hire me just for energy work, So it really depends. I really do believe, like, when you're working on someone, when you're working with someone, right? You're working with that person. You're working with Ross. You're working with John. You're working with Shlomo. You're working with that person. So you have to customize it to that person that you're working with. Because everyone is designed differently. Everyone's going through different things. So, and as a coach, I really do believe the more that you know, the more knowledge that you have, the more you're able to help someone. Like as a religious Jewish man, I learned the Torah. In my personal opinion, that's like the deepest wisdom in the entire world is found in the Torah. So I use that. That flows through me like my blood is flowing through me, Hopefully it flows better because I have some circulation issues. But it's like it's part of my life, It's who I am. So I take that wisdom you know, that and I share it. It just comes out naturally, you know, because you know you are what you associate yourself with.
Yeah.
Not just people, but the things that you learn, the music that you listen to, the things that you look at, you know, it builds you. It makes you who you are.
Yeah, no, I agree on that 100%. Like, I always say, like, who you surround yourself with, you know, it sort of like rubs off on you. So if you're surrounding yourself with people who are always down and negative and, oh, don't want to do this, oh, don't want, and it rubs off on you, and then you become that person as well. Like, your mood changes, and this is why I don't really associate a lot with other people. Like, I'll communicate with other people. Like, I've got people across the world who I speak to, like yourself. You know, you're in Israel at the moment?
Yeah, I'm in Israel.
Yeah.
I've been here
So
for
you're
almost 10 years.
so you're in Israel. So we've connected, and I've got people in America who I speak to on a daily basis. You know, I've got a wide connection, but I can count my friends on one hand. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But prior to that, I used to have quite a lot of friends, and I've cut people off because, you know, it wasn't good energy, you know, and they was bringing bad bad karma into my life, and I was like, no, I don't need that sort of stuff. I'm a dad, I'm a provider. I don't want none of this shit going on in my life. You know what I mean? I want to be there for my son when he
Hmm.
needs me. I don't want to be around bad people or negative people, and then because of you've done something and it's caught me into it as well, and then I end up going to prison because of something you've done. I don't want that shit on my head. Do you know what I mean?
I hear
So
you.
obviously that's why I cut people out of my life, and it's just like, well, you do your thing, and I'm gonna do my thing. You leave me alone. Do you know what I mean? So my question for you now is, what has been the most fulfilling part of your job as a ADHD coach? Do you have like one specific thing that happened whilst you're, you know, doing this sort of line of work?
There's a few different stories that come to mind, but I'll
Okay.
share with you. I'll share with you one. I have a client
Mm.
that when we first started working together, and we've been working together now for like 6 months. He's a completely different person, you know, completely, right? And also, like, he, you know, there's cultural differences, right? My
Of course.
client is also he's a religious Jew, and you know when you're ready to get married, there's the customs are very different than other parts of the world, right?
Right.
And your parents are very much involved, you know, and his parents at that time did not think he was ready, right? And then after working together and seeing that now he's actually in the process, that his parents are supporting him to take that step to get married now, like they're standing behind him and they believe like, yeah, you're ready now. That's amazing. That's amazing. You know, to really be involved in someone's life, you know, to the point where you're able to see that you guys working together, you're helping someone and you're seeing that it's actually helping them.
Yeah.
That is one, you know, that's one of the best gifts, and it's priceless. You know, it's like wow, you know, it's like wow, it's like I'm actually like I'm making a difference in another person's life. And for me, that's what it's all about. You know, that's what you're remembered for. you know?
Exactly.
You're not remembered how much money you got in your bank account. That's not going in the coffin with you when after 120 years of living in this world. But what you're remembered for is the good things, how you helped
Yeah.
other people, how you gave charity, how you were always there for your community, that you went out of your way to help another person,
Yeah.
right? Not, oh man, dude had the best Ferrari. It ran, and we just had so much. It was like, that's nonsense. Nonsense.
No, it's true what they say though. Money don't mean shit. I'd rather be broke and be the most kindest person alive. You know, before I came down here, I bumped into a friend of mine, and there was this girl who I don't know her personally, but like I know her brother and sister. We went to the same school, her brother and sister, and she just turned around to me and she went, "Excuse me, can you get that loaf of bread at the bottom for me, please?" Because she was in a wheelchair,
Mm-hmm.
and like the electric ones. So she was sat in that, and she couldn't get out to reach down to it because of a disability. So I was like, yeah, no worries. And she cracked a joke out of it. Do you know what I mean? She went, "I can't get down there. I'm too short." And I was like, "Oh, bless you." But you know, it's doing good deeds, and I believe, I'm not a religious person or anything, but I always believe if you do a good deed will be returned to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer on karma as well. What goes around comes around.
That's
Whether
energy.
it's good karma and it's bad karma. You know, if you're bad in the world, bad will come to you. If you're good in the world, good will come to you.
Your
But
energy transfers.
yeah,
The way that you act in the world is going to be shot right back at you,
mm-hmm.
right? And to go off what you were saying about money, people today worship money. They worship it like it's a god, right? The things that people would do for money were people kill for money. People
Yeah,
rob banks for money. People do unbelievable, disgusting things for money. All the money is a tool. That's all it is. The moment that you start to forget that, you're a slave to it. Money is a tool, and it can be used for unbelievable things. It can help change the world. But if you don't have that mindset of what money actually is and what it's being used for, good luck.
absolutely.
Because a lot of people today, I would say a majority of people in the world, they don't know that. They don't want to know that. You know? That's what it is, but that's what it's designed for. It's a tool. But like everything in the world, right? Has a good and has a bad. Right? The internet can be super evil. You can look up things that will destroy your mind and be really like detrimental to you, you know?
Yeah, can radicalize you as well.
Pornography, all these things that you can access through the internet, right? But then on the flip side of the coin, look what we're doing right now, right? Look what we're doing right now. We're
Exactly.
elevating the entire world with this podcast right now. We're changing, we're like helping people who are going through difficult times who may see this podcast right now that we're recording through the means of the internet,
Mm-hmm.
So yes, there's a boundary, It's like don't play with fire because you're going to get burned, right? But create boundaries for yourself. Create tools that are going to help you, do what you got to do. And to
100%.
understand that.
So, is there like anything that you've come across, like a difficult time whilst in this line of work as well? Like, have you come across a client and you're like, that you've really, really struggled with, or has there been a time, again, in your line of work where you've just like, I can't, it's too much for me, sort of thing?
I have not moved forward with certain people who have reached out to me because I was, like, as we shared before we got live, we're not going to go into detail with that, right? But there's people I've decided not to work with because our values just didn't line up. On top of that, I've had clients where, after, that after working with each other, it was good, right? And they even, like, and like one client in particular that comes to my mind, right? Just he couldn't afford it, right? He couldn't afford it, and I even brought my price way down, you know, to the lowest I've ever brought it down, and he still wasn't able to afford it, and it was very hard for me. It was very hard for me because I was now in this dilemma of, do I give someone free coaching? And this is not the only time it's happened. I had someone reach out to me, it's like, I'm going to kill myself and I can't afford coaching. Now I'm put in this dilemma of like, what do I do? What do I do? And that was a really hard place for me. I had to go seek guidance. I had to speak to professionals who have been doing this much longer than me. I had to go to the Jedis, man. I had to go talk to the wise folk, who have a lot more years on their belt. And I was like, what do I do? And I had to take that advice. And, it was hard, it was hard. Like, I still check up on them, I still check up on them. We ended up not working together, but I still check up on them. And I also, because of that, I try to create free resources as well to help people, because not everyone can afford one-on-one, So I try to create free resources as well to really help people who may not be able to afford, one-on-one coaching. It's also why I love being on podcasts, because this right here is a tool. It's a free tool, right? That someone can watch and help themselves, and it can resonate, so I would say that definitely was the hardest time.
So we are coming up to the end of the show now. So before I let you go, I want to ask you two more things. So is there anything you would like to say to the audience before we go?
Yeah. If you're watching this show, if you're watching this podcast, right, and you're going through a difficult time, I urge you not to give up. I know that might sound cliche, but that is literally, when you're going through the darkest and the hardest times of your life, don't give up. Know that's not an option. Contact friends, contact a mentor, find someone that you feel can help you get out of that hard time that you're experiencing. There are so many resources out there. There are so many people out there who want to see you succeed, even though you may not think it. They exist. So, and also I want to say thank you, Ross, for having me on this podcast. I had a great time. We're going to have to do it again. Maybe have a virtual tea together. I don't know. We'll figure it out, But this was awesome. I had a great time. Thank you.
We'll definitely sort something out. So, obviously, before we say goodbye and everything, do you have your own website or anything like that you'd like to shout out, or is there any shout outs that you'd like to do before we, finish this interview?
Mm-hmm. So shout out to every man who struggles with ADHD, who doesn't give up and is always trying to grow and be a better person. Shout out to you. That's for you. And you know who you are. And also, if you want to visit my Instagram, it's at Next Level Living Coaching. TikTok is also at Next Level Living Coaching. And you can also find me on Facebook, ARI SERAP. Right, my name's written right there, so nicely in purple. And I guarantee you type my name in that search engine on Facebook, I'm the only Ari Sarab with a big beard. You can't miss me. I'm unmissable. I don't even know if that's a word, but it is now.
That's it. What I'll do as well is after the call and everything, I will get your links off you, and
Okay.
I will put the links into the description of the video as well. So like when people go on it, they click more on the description part, they can see your links, and if they want to contact you or follow you or get some more information that they need or something like that, or they might want to contact you regarding work, I don't know, so it could be possible. But what I'll do is I'll put your links on there as well, so people can get in contact with you, people can connect with you as well, and hopefully, you know, people will connect with you and reach out for you for some guidance and some support. But I just want to say a massive thank you to yourself for taking this time out of your day. You know, it means a lot to me, and I just want to say thank you for sharing your story. I want to say sorry as well for the stuff that you've been through. And again, it sounds harsh saying it, but in a way, I'm glad that you've gone through it and survived, because like we've just mentioned then, you know, some people do throw in the towel, and, you know, unfortunately, they don't get to tell their stories, but their story does live on, even though they've took their own life. I go to a place called Andy's Man Club, and it's online, and it's worldwide pretty much, and, you know, for what it's about, it's amazing. But it's sad for the guy who took his own life, but they then opened up this place in memory of this guy, and it's just spreading like wildfire.
Wow.
So yeah, I do understand the mental health side of things as well, because like as we've explained, I struggle with it, I've been through it, I'm still going through it right now, but you know, I'm using my little toolbox each day. So yeah, again, a massive thank you to yourself for being on the podcast and sharing your story, and we'll reconvene at some other time with some virtual tea.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I am.
No worries. Thank you guys for listening. Hope to see you on the next one.